golly, there's something dangling in my way. We won't worry about that right now. I'm Miss Dana. I'm from Wordplay Workshop, where we're building better writers and inspiring excellence every single day in young authors. And I'm very excited because I just got back from a nature walk and I wrote a beautiful narrative about my walk, and I can't wait to share it with you and inspire you to get outside and write your own. Are you ready? Chirping a beautiful song, I heard bluebirds, so I gazed up into the trees. There they were. Soft and feathery, I watched as they swirled and twirled above my head. With the sun glancing off their bright feathers, I had to duck as they cavorted near my head. So what I want you to notice, first of all, that I was outside enjoying beautiful nature. But second of all, that I used precise and exacting details. I used lots of sensory details, what I could see and hear. I also used action verbs, and I compiled it into a very nice narrative. So I hope this inspires you to get outside and do your own. Go for it. Wait a second. I know what's dangling. It's my participles. So it's time for a little pop quiz. Is a participle A, something you go buy at a hardware store, B, something you find sawed off at a hospital, like a dangling limb, or C, something you see all the time in books and newspapers and other written materials? Well, it's not A, although it might be fun to go to Lowe's or Home Depot and ask where they have their dangling participles. And it's not B, thankfully. The answer is C. If you look for them, you will start seeing dangling participles everywhere. And hopefully they'll start to drive you nuts too. We'll start a revolution to end dangling participles. But first, I guess you need to know what a participle is. Quite simply, a participle is a verb in the present tense that has ing or ed added to it and that functions as an adjective. So let's take that one step at a time. Take the verb sing, add ing. Singing. Now place a noun next to it and you'll see it's an adjective. Singing birds, chirping hippos, twirling ballerinas. The participles act as adjectives to the nouns. They modify the nouns. You also see participles with ed, like burn plus ed, burned toast. The toast is burned. Burned modifies toast. That's what a participle is. Now, sometimes you have a participle in a group of other words, usually followed by a comma. We call that a participle phrase. So it's just a group of words that has a participle in it. So, twirling in their tutus is a participle phrase. Putting on her shirt is a participle phrase. Slipping on the ice is a participle phrase. And in those phrases you have swirling, putting, and twirling as the participles. Put them with a group of words, you have a participle phrase. Clear? So now you know what a participle is, and you can identify a participle phrase, which makes you smarter than 99% of the population. So let's go back to my nature narrative and try and identify some of the participles in there. We'll start with this one. Chirping a beautiful song, I heard bluebirds. Where's the participle in this? Remember, a participle is a verb in the present tense plus ing. So the participle here is chirping. Ding, ding, ding. The participle phrase then is chirping a beautiful song, comma. No issues so far. This is a perfectly fine participle phrase. Here's where we have a problem. Who is doing the chirping? It's either I or the bluebirds. That's all that's left in the sentence. And of course, you're saying, well, duh, it's the bluebirds. That's the problem. Because according to this sentence, I am the one doing the chirping. I am chirping a beautiful song. Chirp, chirp, chirp. A participle phrase is always supposed to modify the first noun or pronoun after the comma. And in this sentence, the first noun or pronoun after the comma is I. So technically, I am the one doing the chirping. And we know it's actually the bluebirds, but the participle phrase does not make that clear. And that's what makes this a dangling participle. Let's look at another sentence from my nature narrative. With the sun glancing off their bright feathers, I had to duck as they cavorted near my head. They, of course, is a pronoun that has replaced bluebirds. So where is the participle? Glancing. It's the verb plus ing. With the sun glancing off their bright feathers, comma, is the participle phrase. It's beautiful, isn't it? I like the imagery in there. The rest of the sentence is, I had to duck as they cavorted near my head. So what is this participle phrase modifying? Although in our heads we know, of course, it's talking about the bluebirds, in fact, I is the first noun or pronoun after this comma. So it's talking about how the sun is glancing off my bright feathers. And as you can clearly see, I do not possess any feathers, bright or otherwise, which makes this a dangling participle. So the only question that's left is how you can make your participles and your participle phrases no longer dangle. Here's my advice. Leave your participle or your participle phrase alone. Switch the order of the nouns and pronouns so that the participle phrase or the participle modifies the correct thing. So in this sentence, chirping a beautiful song, I heard bluebirds. Just make sure those bluebirds are the first noun or pronoun that comes after your comma, even if it means rewriting the sentence a little bit. So your new sentence might be, chirping a beautiful song, the bluebirds whistled in my ear. There you go. No doubt in your readers' heads what you are talking about. And that is how you make sure your participles no longer